All right, this is Dan Zelinsky. This is the second of my lectures in Asian philosophy. Part 1, the Upanishads as philosophy and science. Hinduism refers to an incredibly rich and diverse family of religions. Think of the diversity within the different sects or branches of Christianity, and then multiply it by, say, 100. Instead of attempting a broad survey, we're going to focus on some philosophical themes and issues within a single Hindu text. Actually, a collection of texts called the Upanishads, which are among the oldest written philosophical texts in the world. The Upanishads are the philosophical portions of a broader collection of foundational Hindu texts, the Vedas, the oldest of which, the Rig Veda, dates back to 1500 BCE. Focus on the Vedas is definitive of Vedic or Vedantic Hinduism, which contrasts with other branches or schools of Hinduism which incorporate later texts and teachings. The word Upanishad literally means sitting by devotedly, which has more of a religious and philosophical tone to it. But the term probably resulted from the fact that the teachings within it were based on even older oral teachings, which require special attention to grasp. The Upanishads are widely regarded as classic texts of Asian philosophy. But there's some disagreement here. The scholar Eknath S. Warren, whose introduction to the Upanishads is one of the main readings for the week, does not regard them as philosophy, since they lack any developed line of argument, and arguments are central to the method of philosophy. But this won't work for us, since we can't have a course in Asian philosophy which doesn't include the Upanishads, and by S. Warren's standard, we'd have to also exclude all the other texts of the course as well, since none of them contain explicitly developed lines of argument either. Hence, I'm going to side with Cooperman, the author of our principal text, Classic Asian Philosophy, on this one, and maintain that these texts are philosophy, since there are arguments concerning philosophical issues implicit within them. These arguments just take a little philosophical archaeology to uncover. Interestingly, while S. Warren doesn't regard the Upanishads as philosophy, he does consider them to advocate a type of science, inasmuch as they advocate a method of inquiry akin to that of modern science. His idea is that the Upanishads insist that the key metaphysical claims within them, concerning the nature of reality and the self, can be verified by anyone trained in a specific method of observation. This observation is a form of introspection cultivated through intense and prolonged meditation or focused concentration on a specific object, like an image or a phrase or one's breathing. While these observations are distinct from everyday perceptions, so is much of the observations of modern science, which require highly specialized equipment and training to attain. Moreover, the meditative experiences noted as evidenced by the Upanishads are claimed to be verifiable and repeatable, two notable standards for modern scientific evidence. We'll consider the strength of this analogy and of meditative states as evidence in a future lecture. By the way, if you haven't already viewed my notes introducing the method of reasoning to the best explanation used in modern science, be sure to at least take a quick look at these notes. They're in the opening supporting documents in the Logic Corner folder. Here I point out that for a specific scientific claim or hypothesis to be testable, it need not be directly observable. Rather, it need only have implications which are observable. For example, black holes are not observable, but their existence is scientifically supported by observations. These observations that have confirmed predictions made by hypotheses a claim is testable if it has implications which can be observable. Keep this hypothesis model of indirect observation in mind when you reflect on the Hindu claim that the existence of Atman and Brahman, which we're going to introduce here, exist. Empiricism is an epistemological theory, that is, a theory of knowledge, which assumes all knowledge must be grounded in evidence. In contrast, many religious adherents, both East and West, insist that some claims can be known without evidence, but through faith alone. According to S. Warren, the epistemological approach of the Upanishads is purely empirical. That is, he believes that the writers of the Upanishads maintain that all of their claims can be verified experientially. I'm not so sure. While there definitely is an emphasis on experiential evidence within the Upanishads, I believe that implicit within them are also a couple of non-empirical assumptions about reality, or metaphysical assumptions, which have no, at least direct, empirical foundation. Whether or not the Upanishads espouse a purely empirical approach to epistemology, or merely a largely empirical one, it is clearly concerned with two fundamental philosophical issues. First, the nature of the self, or the subject behind one's inner reality, i.e., one's thoughts, feelings, perceptions, emotions, dreams, values, desires, etc. The answer within the Upanishads is that there is an eternal subject, or self, behind all subjective experience, which is distinct from our physical body. In the Upanishads, this concept of a true self is referred to via the Sanskrit term Atman, which is comparable but not identical to the Western notions of mind and soul. The second major philosophical issue of the Upanishads is the nature and origin of the universe. What is the origin or foundation for all reality? Where did all this, everything in the visible universe, come from? The answer to this question within the Upanishads is that everything comes from and persists in a single sacred reality or ultimate reality, which the Upanishads refers to via another Sanskrit term, Brahman. Brahman is comparable but not identical to the Western notion of God. In the remainder of this lecture, I'm going to attempt to provide a general overview of these two fundamental Vedic Hindu concepts, Atman and Brahman.